What makes an investment scam dangerous is not that it looks ridiculous. It's that for a moment, it looks reasonable. It sounds polished. It sounds timely. It sounds exclusive. It sounds like maybe this is finally the thing that helps you catch up. And that's the trap. Because most people don't get pulled in by something obviously foolish. They get pulled in by something that feels just believable enough to bypass their caution. Welcome to Wisdom from the Porch. I'm GP. This is Wisdom from the Porch. There's a lazy story people tell about scams. They act like fraud only works on people who aren't paying attention. People who are gullible. People who are reckless. People who should have known better. But that story is comforting mostly because it lets everybody else feel immune. And immunity is exactly what makes people vulnerable. The truth is, scams often work because they are designed to exploit very human things. Hope, fear, urgency, status, confusion, money stress, and the deep desire to not miss the opportunity that changes everything. A convincing scam doesn't always show up looking chaotic. Sometimes it shows up looking clean. A good website, confident language, professional branding, testimonials, charts, projected returns, specialized terminology, a story about innovation, a story about access, a story about why the early movers always win. And if someone is already carrying stress about their future, about retirement, debt, inflation, lost time, missed opportunities, or feeling financially behind, that pitch lands on very fertile ground. Because now it's not just an offer, it feels like relief. That's important to understand. Scams do not just sell greed. A lot of the time, they sell emotional escape. That's what makes these situations dangerous. The real hook is rarely the numbers alone. The real hook is what the numbers make you imagine. More breathing room, more stability, less catching up, less regret, less fear about the future. That's why some people miss the warning signs. Not because they're unintelligent, because the pitch has been aimed directly at an unhealed pressure point. And when a financial offer starts interacting with your identity, your security, or your panic, your judgment can get blurry fast. Especially if the offer is wrapped in a story like, "Most people won't understand this yet," or "This is how early wealth is built," or "You have to move before everyone else catches on," or "The window is closing," or "People like you deserve access too." That language is powerful because it makes hesitation feel like failure. It makes caution feel unsophisticated. It makes skepticism feel like the reason you've been left behind. That is not an investment conversation. That's emotional manipulation wearing business clothes. And if you don't know how to separate the emotional charge from the actual opportunity, the pitch can start feeling smarter than it is. A lot of people think a red flag has to be dramatic. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's subtle. The details are vague, but the confidence is high. The returns sound exceptional, but the explanation is muddy. The language is full of impressive terms, but when you try to pin down what the thing actually is, clarity disappears. Questions get redirected instead of answered. Regulation gets treated like an inconvenience. Documentation exists, but not the kind that really helps you verify anything. And there is almost always some version of pressure. Pressure to act, pressure to trust, pressure to skip steps, pressure to feel lucky to even be invited. That pressure matters because legitimate opportunities can survive scrutiny. Fraud tends to depend on momentum. The less time you take, the better it works. The less outside perspective you get, the better it works. The more isolated you are with the pitch, the better it works. And one of the clearest warning signs of all is when a person or company seems more interested in accelerating your decision than clarifying your understanding. That should always make you pause. Because a real financial opportunity should be able to survive your questions. If it falls apart under examination, it was never solid. Urgency is one of the most effective tools in any scam. Not because urgency proves something is fraudulent every time, but because urgency changes the quality of your thinking. When people feel rushed, they don't evaluate the same way. They simplify, they assume, they skip, they fill in gaps with optimism. They confuse speed with confidence. That is especially important for anyone who has a complicated relationship with money. If your nervous system already feels activated around finances, urgency can shut down the part of you that wants to verify before trusting. That's why act now language is so potent. It interrupts the pause where wisdom lives. And that pause matters more than people realize. Because often, the difference between getting trapped and staying safe is not genius. It's time. Time to check. Time to ask. Time to verify. Time to step outside the emotional weather of the pitch. A scam often needs you to decide before your clarity catches up. So one of the most financially mature things you can say is simply, I don't make money decisions under pressure. That sentence alone can save people a lot of pain. If the opportunity is real, it can wait long enough to be examined. That needs to become a rule. Not a mood, not a hope, a rule. Before money moves, the pace has to slow down. That means looking beyond the polished version of the story. Who regulates this? Where is the independent verification? What exactly is the asset, product, or vehicle? How's the return being generated? What are the actual risks? Who benefits if I say yes today? What happens if you ask for time? What happens if you ask a hard question? And perhaps most important, would this still make sense if nobody used urgency, status, secrecy, or pressure to sell it? Because some offers only feel compelling when they are wrapped in adrenaline. Once the adrenaline is removed, the logic collapses. That's why outside perspective matters too. Scams often thrive in private. Bring the pitch into the light. Let somebody neutral look at it. Not someone dazzled, not someone trying to impress you, not someone getting a cut. Someone grounded. Because clarity is easy to find when you're not alone with the story. Financial self-protection does not mean becoming paranoid. It means becoming slower, clearer, and harder to rush. It means understanding that protecting your money is not only about finding the right opportunity. It's also about refusing the wrong one. That's a part of financial wisdom too. Not every yes grows wealth. Sometimes wealth is protected by the no that never becomes a disaster. And for a lot of people, especially people trying to rebuild, stabilize, or finally get ahead, that can be frustrating to hear because caution is not glamorous. Verification is not exciting. Walking away rarely feels cinematic. But protecting your future is often much quieter than chasing it. Real financial growth usually looks less like adrenaline and more like consistency. Less like magic and more like patience. Less like secret access and more like boring clarity. That may not feel thrilling, but boring clarity has saved a lot more people than exciting promises ever have. So if an investment ever makes you feel simultaneously hopeful and confused, slow down. If it makes you feel special for being chosen, slow down. If it makes you feel ashamed for asking questions, slow down. If it promises unusual reward with suspiciously little risk, slow down. And if it tries to make due diligence sound like weakness, walk away. Because your hard-earned money deserves more than persuasion. It deserves proof. So let me leave you with this. The scam is not always obvious because the trap is not built on stupidity. It's built on timing, on pressure, on emotion, on the very human hope that maybe this is finally the break you've been waiting for. That's why the answer is not shame. It's clarity. It's questions. It's refusing to confuse urgency with legitimacy. If this episode gave you something to think about, share it with somebody who needs a reminder that protecting your money is just as powerful as growing it. Follow, subscribe, and come back to the porch for more conversations about money, mindset, and living with a little more wisdom. And as always, thank you to Cloud Microphones for supporting these conversations. This has been Wisdom from the Porch. I'm GP. You're always welcome on the porch.